All right. What's going on, everybody? It's Texans Takeover here. I hope everyone is having a good day. Um, just got back to my setup. Hope everyone's day is going well. Um, you know, 9 days till the draft. I hope everyone is hype. I know I certainly am. And I'm gonna do a quick check just to make sure my audio and everything is working. And it certainly is. So there we go. Do you like the new graphics? I took a while trying to update these things, so I do hope you'll actually do enjoy them. But we're gonna talk a lot football here. We're just gonna talk about a lot of things. Nick Caserio's press conference, the rumors surrounding the Texans, and if we could pull up Twitter here, uh, as you can see, my Twitter would be probably somewhere up here, um, in this corner. But if we pull up Twitter and we go to Ian Rappaport's page, it would be, as you can see, a lot of draft prospects here, and that's really all it is. Everyone I be looking up is just a draft prospect. I do have my way to get film. We can watch some film if y'all want to watch film. It's really up to y'all, but you know, we're gonna try to get them through a mock draft in the stream. We're gonna try to get through multiple things in the stream. Should be a fun one. So I do hope there, um, are a good amount of people in here. Just staying tuned. But if we start off with Ian Rappaport here, you're going to be able to hear what he said about the Texans potentially, um, you know, moving down, and he thinks it's a possibility. Diana Rossini also stepped down from the Athletic, which is something to note. But Oscar Delp not visiting the Texans apparently. I wish that was something that would have came to fruition, but it just never did. But if we're talking about the Texans,
needs to talk it into existence. I think a lot of people in the Texans organization, at the Texans draft party, for instance, no, there is a possibility that the Texans are not going to pick where they are slated to pick now, which is 28. Now, could they trade out of one is an interesting question, and definitely one of the bigger storylines that we're going to be following in the lead up to the draft, because I think it's pretty clear Fernando Mendoza is going to go number one to the Las Vegas Raiders. But where Ty Simpson goes will go a long way in determining whether or not teams like the Texans or those teams kind of in that area, whether they actually make the pick or not, because you have a couple teams still in need of a franchise quarterback. The Jets, who have the first pick of the second round, that is one. You have the Arizona Cardinals, also early, I believe, right after the Jets, in the second round as well. Could one of those teams take a quick leap up, maybe trade with the Texans and take Ty Simpson? That is one of the scenarios to watch going forward in the draft. And that, if you're the Texans and you have the opportunity to trade out of the spot for someone who's going to take a quarterback, that's what you want, because that team would then have to pay a quarterback premium. In other words, more than they otherwise would have. So, yeah, I think it's a very real possibility that those people attending the Texans pre-draft party go, all right, well, I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow.
So that's what Ian Rappaport thinks about the Texans. I'm kind of in agreement. So when I do these mock drafts, I guess I'll get my settings ready for when we want to do them. Y'all can pick the big board and everything. Um, but y'all are going to be able to do all this. But one thing I, consistently do is trade down. And I think that's something the Texans should 100% be looking to do. Um, I think trading down is definitely the way to approach this draft, just because of, it not being the strongest class in the world. There are some good things within the class. Um, so, it's really dependent on who's available. So if we fall in love with, who's a random Cade McDonald and we want him at 28 and he goes before that, but then Jets are calling, hey, we'll give you a third round pick, and let us move up for Ty Simpson, then obviously that's something we're going to consider. But a lot of stuff going on. If we go over to our friend here in HoustonStressens.com, a lot of new updates to the draft tracker since the last time we were here. The last time we were here, I actually updated. Where is he? Where'd he go? Oh, Zion Young here, um, who's even higher than he was, but I updated his score a little bit. I've been watching some film. I've fallen in love with Chase Basantis even more than I have before, so there's that. We could pull up the film if y'all want to. No one's really in chat from what I can see, so when people start trickling in, then is when I'll begin to kind of kick everything down the road. But you can see all the draft prospects you've met with and kind of their probability scores. The way you determine the probability scores is from here. So you can look at what the Texans have previously done. Um, and, maybe that shows what we're likely to do moving forward. I do need to still do some tweaks, and there's probably some prospects that I need to look at to update. But if you can see the whole list, top 30 visits. What's up, Matt Kelly? How are you doing, man? Um, just got announced that AJ Halsey is visiting. Le'Veon Moss is also visiting on a top 30. Caserio lying about some of his top visits so people don't take his. I've been in favor of that because in all seriousness, I don't know if we go Caden McDonald in round one. I don't think he's a scheme. I do think we really like Emmanuel Pregnon. I'll give it that one. But like, Big Citrus doesn't fit what we do. Caden Proctor, I think, goes before us, so I don't know why you wasted top 30 there, but I understand it at the time. He wasn't really mocked as highly. Um, Kristen Miller um, at D tackle, I think, could be a fit, but I don't know if that's something the Texans will look to do. Maybe they love Peter Woods and they've just, hit it under themselves. Um, Wondering what the chance I think we take edge in round one. I guess we can. I won't actually do a mock draft here. I'll restart this, but if we just hypothetically simulate to our pick at 28 here, and you see the options available, so in this instance, Falk and Howell aren't available. I really like Zion Young. I think that's something the Texans could look at. Has decent size. So I think if you're looking edge in round one, it's going to be like Zion Young, TJ Parker, maybe Malachi Lawrence sneaks into round one. I really like him as a prospect. I think he's got good athleticism, good twitch. Um, I think if Keldrick Falk somehow falls to 28, because I think the NFL's higher on him than just the outside world are, then maybe that's something you consider. So I think it's my percent, because I think DN3 is probably our fourth or fifth biggest need. So I'd go center at one or D tackle at one. So those two positions there. Then I'd go. What else would I go? I mean, maybe it's our third biggest need. Um, Maybe running back is up there as a big need. If that's something you consider, I'd say guard above edge potentially. But then again, the guard class, is Basantis going to go day one? Is Rutledge going to go day one? Is Pregnon going to go early day two or later day two? We don't really know. Or early or late second round, I guess is the way to put it. Are people high on Jalen Farmer? Is Logan Jones going to be a day two player? So, the center class isn't deep, but it's deep enough to the point where you can be like, hey, we're content with Lou at maybe 38 or 59 or somewhere in the middle at like trading down with the Falcons or something like that if they want to move up and get an edge. So it's really just reading the board. But I do think there is potential that we do take edge in round one, especially if it's like Falk that falls or Howell that. I don't think Howell's the type of edge rusher the Texans would like, but I'm a big fan of Cassius Howell in my opinion. He's a really good player, but Mesidor maybe if he falls to 28, he's already established. I'm not certain on that though because I think if you're the Texans, you're getting a guy in that you could develop. So NFL Stock Exchange went with a mock draft today, and they picked up Anthony Hill at 69 or 59 for the Texans. And I think the reason they did that is just because he's a developmental player. Your roster's in such a good spot that you can take these developmental pieces and kind of just build on them. Brendan Holmes says that the Texans were being really loud about some prospects that didn't make 100% sense at the calm. Yeah, I could definitely see Caserio doing something like that, to be honest. Just going out there and be like, hey, we love Avion Terrell, even though we have Jalen Petrie, we have you know, Kamari Lassiter, we have Derek Stingley, but we love Avion Terrell. That's who we're gonna take at 28, so don't let him fall to us. I could see him do stuff like that, just try to play mind games with, opposing GMs and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I think Casario is probably playing a little close to the chest. You could tell by his press conference he was playing very close to the chest there. Um, Trey Zune and Basantis to Houston would be hype. I love Trey Zune as a player. I could. You know what? Let's 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 get some film up, just for the love of it. Why not? Wherever my window went. 2023 vibes, as in you think we move up, or just like, let's go. Let's watch some Trey Zune, just for the love of the game. Um, let's go. I don't need to create a Gmail account. I just need to log into one. What do you mean by 2023 vibes? Um, do you like just the quality of player we're getting, or just like the randomness and how close to chests we've been? Uh, let's go to the all 22 library. I was watching this game, keeping their moves a secret and do something people. Yeah, I think that's true. Um, actually, I expect us to move down. So if you move down, then there is that. But yeah, I do think they're playing it very close to the chest. I watched this game actually earlier on today, so maybe we'll watch a different one. But uh, I was actually at this game in real life. Let's pull this one up. This one's a fun one. I think y'all will enjoy this one. So how am I gonna? Okay, so I'm gonna have to do this and then that. Let's watch this one. Why not? We got A&M versus Florida here. This is the all 22 film of some college prospects. So Trey Zune obviously over there with Basantis there too. So if you see a good left side, then you know that's what you're looking for Houston. First play deep shot to KC. Yeah, this was such a good fun game to be at. I was really enjoying myself there. Um, but why not get some all 22 up, man? I love this stuff. This is some of my favorite stuff. Le'Veon Moss just went the wrong way to start out the play, where Marcel Reed just read it wrong. But first play deep shot down to Concepcion. Three players that I really like for Houston or I guess four. I like Le'Veon Moss. He just has an injury concern. Um, why not talk some ball, watch some film? Nate Borkirkshire there too. You know, A&M had a lot of studs there this past season that I thought were really good. Um, Moss in motion this time. Yeah, I mean, Borkirkshire is so good as a blocker, man. That would be a really nice scheme fit for Houston there. Um, I mean, you can just see him just absolutely move. I don't know who it was. Was it the linebacker at the way, or was it Caleb Banks didn't play in this one? I don't think, but you can see Tyreek Sapp there, number 94. Yeah, it was a linebacker. Borkirkshire just absolutely bullied him. I don't know, man. What do y'all think we do in this draft? I'm really intrigued to see it because there's not really a consensus best prospect available. So I don't know what the majority of us are thinking. Um, so you know, go ahead and let me know. Astros finally took the lead. We were down 3-0 in the first inning, but come back and we're up 4-3. Christian Walker with the home run, Alvarez with the double. Walker grounded into a fielder's choice there. So there's that. Yeah, we're up 4-3. I'm going to the game this Friday. Actually, I'm pretty excited. But I guess baseball's not um, top of the priority right now because we suck. But I do love watching me some Astros. We can we can have some group discussions here about what we like. Um, nice catch there. Protection was really decent for A&M. Um, Cam Smith 1 run single up to 5-3. We're moving. Uh, Borkershire's a big dude. number 87 there for the Aggies in case you get him and what's his name? I'm completely blanking. But in case you're getting them mixed up, but yeah, that's all we really need to see. Um, you know, I do think they are keeping their moves a secret though. Like if we go back to the draft board, I guess we can start. We'll select the Steelers, I guess, because I think that starts our range. So like, if we're here, you know, I think there's a lot of potential with what we could do. Um, so you're looking at potentially Blake Miller to come in and play right tackle for you. Caden Proctor potentially. I think Caden Proctor might go like 17 to the Lions though. Um, you know, if people are confused why I picked the Steelers, it's just because I think the range starts. Um, I think like anywhere from 20 to 40 are going to be very similar players, like very similar grades in Nick Caserio's mind. So I don't think we're going to mind moving around the board a lot. Um, which he talked about a lot in his press conference. I'll try to find the question and pull it up here for y'all. If I have two mock draft simulators open. So which one's this one? Which one's okay? I accidentally have two open. But I guess I can use this one to go find some of the Nick Caserio comments that I was talking about. Because I thought he had a very, good press conference. Um, I thought he kept things under his chest really well, but I think it was intriguing the things he said, especially when he talked about moving down. Let's just search up Nick Caserio there and see what pops up. I guess Texans Jacob would probably be the one that has it. Make sure y'all go follow Texans Jacob. It's just at Texans Jacob here. Really good creator. I really like the stuff he puts out. And he actually put out some draft news there that Stresson sent to me that we're one of 5 teams that are very high on Caleb Elam's or this is a guy that I've drafted a lot in my mock drafts just because I really like him as a player. And then other than that, I guess we can see if where is the quote that I'm looking for? Yeah, right here.
Let's get opportunities here next week. We'll see if we pick.
Whoops. That is completely my bad, but we'll pull it up here. This is the quote I'm
opportunities here next week. We'll see if we pick. If we pick, we pick. If we don't, we don't. I'm sure we'll keep you on your toes like we always do. And if we move out of the first round, then I'll probably get, some choice words about the draft party. So this is the way it goes. Opportunities here next week. We'll see if we.
So everything from that press conference seemed like he was going to move out. There's another thing he said where it was like, if we pick, we pick. We don't, we don't. And no one really provoked him to say that. So I think, that was kind of a sense of, hey, I'm 100% just kind of set on moving.
Yeah, I don't really think it affects his future.
But this was him about
he's our quarterback. We've said that from the beginning. D'Amico and I both said it. So, I think that was really more of a procedural thing. I don't want to say it was a no-brainer, but it was kind of a no-brainer. So glad he's here. Again, it's more part of the process. So we're excited about his off season. I think he's had a good approach, had a good attitude here. I think he's put a lot of work in.
Pick, really?
From I'd say.
Are you in favor of that, or is that what you think we do?
Excited to have him around here in the spring, and I'm excited to keep moving forward.
Basically, just saying he's excited to keep him in the building. I think we all should do that. This is what he was saying about best player available
on the board. Really good question, it's trust the grades, and there's a reason that we put grades on a player. So again, we grade the players, we stack the board, we do it vertically and horizontally, and then you work across. Okay, if you have 2 players that are similarly graded, okay, great. If you have another player that's graded a little bit lower at a quote-unquote position of need, okay, so you're going to take the lesser player when our grades tell us let's do something else. So, again, it goes back to the integrity of the process. So trust the grades. There's a reason that we grade the players. We're not a round-based team. We assign a commensurate value to the player. of what's the value relative to what we think the role is going to be. That doesn't mean we're going to be right about it. It just means this is how we see that player if we were to add him to the team. So work across, work vertically, and then pick the players off as they come. So I guess that's what that means. So I would say, like, other than quarterback, like, there's no position that we wouldn't consider drafting if that's what the board told us. So that's why we set the board. That's why we spend as much time on it as possible and say, okay, here's a group we're picking from. And again, we're not picking every player. Like, we're going to reduce it down to however many players that at some point we would consider drafting if we had the opportunity. And that's probably taking 10 or 15 out that they're probably not going to be there. Assuming you can't get in the top 15. All right. Well, okay. Well, if one of those players, let's just say you had graded at a certain level, gets down to a certain point, okay, then you have a discussion. There's obviously a reason why, or something, some mitigating circumstance that caused that player to end up.
So, speaking on this, we're gonna jump into a live stream segment here that I think some of y'all might actually enjoy. We're gonna go to I think I have to go here to look at my big boards. So yeah, we're gonna go to my personal big board. This is just a small one. So if you look at this one, this is just like first round targets here. We're not gonna look at this one. We're gonna look at the overall big board. We're gonna talk about some prospects here. Um, See who y'all like and see who I like. So I just updated this pretty recently. Oh, did I click draft with board by accident? Yeah, I did. So we're gonna move some players around, see who likes who, and all that. So, um, you know, I think some player like spots are gonna surprise you. Um, I'm going on based who I like the most. So maybe there's some offensive line bias in here just because I've watched the offensive line a lot. Because it was such a big need for Houston, but we're here with this big board segment. I think this is a fun one, and y'all tell me what y'all think about this. So, we start out with Mendoza. I don't think that's a question. I think he's going one, um, and I'm gonna use this big board to draft starting next week, like NFL draft week. So that's why it's kind of like centered around the picks. But I mean, even then at number 2, I have Sonny Styles, and 3, I have Caleb Downs. So it's not fully centered around who I think drafts who. That's not what this is about. I think this is who's the best player. So I want to hear y'all's opinions on some players here. But we'll work our way down the board towards the Texans range. See Sadiq there at 12, Delane at 11, Thieneman or Thieneman falls down to 14, just slight. Fano at 15, just because I think he's more of a guard in the NFL, and I don't know how he's going to project as a guard. Um, then you have Jermon McCoy there, who I really like, but it's just hard to put him up there when he's been injured so much. Then you got Peter Woods, who I love. Kildrick Falk, who I'm higher than, other than the majority of players. Mekhi Lemon falls a little bit for me. This was my draft crush early on, but I think he just has some personality issues that I'm not really going to get into, as it is 7-3 to the Astros. So it really kind of just came back and found our groove again in this inning. 6 run third inning. Walker scored on an error. Vasquez singled to left, and we have runners on first and second with 2 outs. So Charlie Gordon's not pitching that well, but or Colton Gordon, sorry, not Charlie Gordon. I don't know where I got Charlie Gordon from. I was gonna say Kyler, but he's in the NFL, not the MLB. So there's that. Proctor at 20. I just think he's such a projectable player that I like him there. Omar Cooper a little bit up. Blake Miller a little bit up. Concepcion's quite the big riser for me. PFF has him at 35. I have him at 23. Avion Terrell drops a spot. Akeem Mesidor drops a couple because of his age. Basantis up a lot from 48 to 26. I just love Basantis. Tyson's down a lot. Ihanator's up a couple spots. McNeil Warren's down quite a bit. Parker, same spot. Allen down quite a bit. McDonald down a little bit. Zion Young up. And then we got Boston down a little bit. Miller up a couple spots. Pregnon staying the same. Hood dropping. Cassius Howell dropping a considerable amount. That arm length is really a concern for me. D'Angelo Pons rising just a little bit. Ty Simpson rising by 2 spots. Lee Hunter dropping a couple, Lomu dropping a couple. I might rise him up though. I watched his game against Texas Tech the other day. I thought he really fared well against David Bailey. Had a lot of good reps. J.B. Rodriguez goes up 2. Keelan Rutledge up 30. I think he's an exceptionally good player, and you know does a lot of good stuff with the run game there. Keelan Rutledge does. He's an exceptional player. That's why he's up a considerable amount of spots there. Brennan Cisse down a couple spots. Malachi Lawrence up a bit. Caleb Banks I dropped because of the injury concern. That's the only reason for the drop. I think if we draft Caleb Banks and he pans out, then we have a generational defense on our hands. But I don't know what the probability is that he pans out. Chris Bell down a couple. He tore his ACL. Um, so I just don't know how he's going to recover from that. Anthony Hill up a considerable amount. Derek Moore up a considerable amount. Jake Golday up a couple. Price up a couple. Keontae Scott up a couple. Dunker up a couple as well. And then Schroeder, I think, rose for me. Antonio Williams rose a considerable amount. Yakis dropped a little bit. I struggle with his bend. He's 6'3", 270, so he's, a lot bulkier player than, a bendy player, but I still think you want those intangibles. Daniil's at a similar weight, but you can't love everyone. AJ Halsey, I think, is a decent player, but he drops a little bit. I think he's good in the run game. Very physical safety. Going on a visit with the Texans, actually. Zachariah Branch, I'm in love with. This is one of my favorite receivers in the class. Him and Antonio Williams are the two guys that are like in that same range that I'm uberly high on. And I think they could come into Houston and do a role in that slot. Um, both pretty young at 22 apiece, pretty much. But I really like the player that both of them are. I think Chris Johnson's probably one of my biggest drops from 46 to 61. I like the Knight and Sutton a good amount. R. Mason Thomas is a considerable drop, too. I just have concerns with his weight and his height, like 6'2", 250. Yeah, 6'2", 249 there. He's explosive, but I just don't know if he could be a 3-down player in the NFL. That's why I think teams are going to value like Derek Moore, who's probably 6'3", 260, and he's that on the dot. And then Gabe Yakis, who I talked about, 6'3", 270. Malachi Lawrence, I think like 6'4", 250, exactly. But other edge rushers that Cash Hell's going to be a DPR guy, 6'2", 250, 248. Zion Young, 6'5", 262. Going to be able to do that. TJ Parker, probably like 6'3", 260 as well. Even like Caden Curry has decent weight, but he just has the shortest arms ever. So that's going to be a little concerning there. But TJ Parker, yeah, 6'3", 260. Akeem Mesidor probably around that same range, probably a little heavier at like 270. He's at 280, but he still's got a lot of good bend there. So that's my concern with R. Mason Thomas. I just don't know how much he'd see the field because he'd be limited to really just when teams are passing the ball and they're passing the ball. Jeremy Bernard there at 63. I just think he's such a good gadget player. He drops a lot for me, but I don't think 63 means you're a bad player by any means, especially in this draft. My grades for these players are all very similar. So, you could see Derek Moore go as high as like 43 and Jake Rodriguez be like 53. And I wouldn't even think twice about it just because of how similar, I think these players grade out, and it's hard to, create a draft board because you're thinking, positional value. So you want to put someone like Ty Simpson up to like 28, to be honest. I do have a feeling that is where he goes. I think we trade out and Ty Simpson goes there, but it's just hard because they're all similar skill sets. But Jeremy Bernard, I think, could be like a Deebo Samuel in the NFL. Use him as a running back in college, used him as a slot receiver, a gadget guy. So whatever you want him to do, he's going to be able to do and produce at a pretty high level. So I think he's an intriguing prospect. I don't see one glamoring, Jeremy Bernard does this exceptionally well that makes me, you know, makes him stand out, I guess is the way to put it. Grayson Holton jumps a little bit. I think he's a really good pass rusher. Does have the weight concerns. I think he's going to be a 3 tech though, so I don't think it's too bad when he's that explosive with that first step. Eli Stowers drops for me just because I don't like the way he blocks at all. Down 12 spots. I might drop him even more, to be honest. I think Sam Roush could be above him. Chris Brazzell there, I think, has got good size for a receiver, like 6'5", 200. probably able to win as a big slot in the NFL. Yeah, he's 6'5", 200. Good speed. Again, means that he can project to win in the slot. Jalen Kilgore is my biggest riser for me. I love him. I absolutely love him. I think he could go as high as day two. Um, but I mean, we'll see what happens. I want to know who y'all's favorite guys are though as I go down these players. Dominic Orange, think he's a one tech, so I don't like the fit for Houston, but I do think he's a very good player with very good size. Just really powerful. He's got big hands, and he uses them to his advantage, and he's really good in doing so. Dejon Stribling, probably one of my bigger risers as well. I really like him as a prospect. I think he's another big slot that you could think of. Um, and just really win, can run every route on the route tree. I think he's an exceptionally good player, and I think whatever team does get him, even if it's down the board, is going to be lucky because of how good he truly is. Um, as the Rockies just hit a homer, of course, we'll probably end up losing that game, to be honest. But uh, I really like Dejon Stribling, so I can hear some discourse on him if y'all want to talk about it. But Joshua Josephs drops for me as well. It's the same concern that I have with R. Mason Thomas there. I just think he's a DPR guy. He's really only going to be someone that rushes the passer for you, and nothing really else. I don't think he's developed or polished enough as a run defender to really do anything else. Jake Slaughter, I love. I've said this multiple times. I think he's my center one. Um, and I think Logan Jones could be close. I have these guys so similarly graded that part of me wants to do this, but I'm gonna leave them where they were. I had it like this, I believe. I like Jake Slaughter the most. I think he's the most polished center in this class. I don't know. Logan Jones might be the most polished now that I think about it as a pass blocker. I just think he's incredible. Um, I mean, we'll see what center goes first. I think in NFL Stock Exchange's mock draft today, they did a separate round mock draft for charity. I don't know what the final haul for Houston was, but I suggest y'all go check it out. It was a really, really cool live stream just to watch. But I think Logan Jones was the first center off the board. They took him at 59 to Houston, so that does mean that Anthony Hill was 69, which I was talking about earlier on. But I really like Logan Jones. He's got a soft spot for me. The one I'm not a big fan of is actually a Hecht out of Kansas State. Keith Abney's a big dropper for me. I just, I think there's better corners available. I really like Traden Stukes. I think he could do a lot of fun things. Maybe as a nickel, maybe as a safety, you could play him around in and around the box. Maybe he could become a replacement to Kalen Bullock if you can't pay him. But we'll see. Elijah Surratt, I actually really like. He dropped a little bit for me, but I think that's just because other players rose. Skylar Bell dropped a considerable amount too. Caleb Tiernan dropped as well. But I really like Elijah Surratt. Can run every route on the route tree. I just think he catches with his body a little too much, which causes me to drop him. Sam Roush, I love. I know the grades are probably some of the lower grades that you'll see anywhere in this range, and that is certainly true. As you get a sneak peek to the rest, Kevin Coleman, big riser. VJ Payne, big riser as well, from 205 to 128. But Oscar Delp, probably the biggest riser just because I don't know why he's ranked 215th. Really dumb to me. But on Roush, he's got the traditional size for a tight end that I really like. He's got a good body. Pause. But you know what I'm trying to say. He's got the prototypical tools for a tight end to be successful. So, I just think that the Texans should really look into that. I don't know if he'll be available at 59 to be honest, or 69. I think he might go somewhere in the 50s to 40s. I think teams are gonna really like how he can block. But then again, you have like Will Cook Marek, who needs to rise for me a considerable amount. So I'm just gonna do that right now. Actually, I think he's one of the best blockers in this class. I think he's going to be near the hundreds, actually. So where do I like his range at? I think a little bit under Kevin Coleman. Probably over Tyreek Sapp, though, if I were to Yeah, we're gonna go right here. Um, as Brandon Hollum said about 10, 15 minutes ago, there are a lot of good players in this range. You could start it from Miller to probably down to Rutledge. I think that's the range for Houston there. Um, so for me, it's my 22 to 44 that I think are really, really good players. We'll see where they go. Um, I love Basantis, as you can see. Probably the lowest graded player that I have as a first round prospect, but I just don't think PFF really liked what he did. I don't know why. Um, Caleb Loma, I think, should have been graded higher a little bit, but I understand the run concerns with both Loma and Basantis, which turned people off a little bit. Roush low graded. I don't know why. He had a little bit of dropsies last season, actually, now that I think about it. But Mike Washington Jr. at 80. I think he is a dropper for me. I just think the fumble concerns are a little concerning, but obviously a home run hitter. I think a dynamic playmaker, too, that Houston would love. Jalen Farmer, a riser for me, just a couple of spots, but I think he's an uberly talented guard, and I think he will be very successful in the NFL wherever he goes. I know some people actually really, really like Jalen Farmer, so maybe there's potential he lands in Houston. And then we got Ramilla Height dropping a couple spots. I just think age is a concern, as well as just him being only a DPR guy in the NFL. Bryce Lance a dropper for me. I understand, the size and the speed that makes him a, you know, uh, PFF fall in love with them, but I don't see it entirely. Competition wasn't the best either, so there's that. But Max Clare at 84 drops for me a little bit, but I think he's a good player. I like him to refine his blocking a little bit. I think he's developing in that sense. He's not had much to really um, do in terms of blocking at Purdue, but when he transferred to Ohio State, he held up his own. But I would just like it to improve a little bit. But only one of your experience, I don't think I can knock him too much on that front. Joel Jackson Jr. there, I think he's a really good player. Falls a little bit though. I need to watch more of him to be honest, but I think he's one of the guys that might need to cut down some weight to, still be powerful but gain some explosiveness. Sam Heck drops for me. Only a couple spots actually. Maybe that's someone that drops a little bit more. Uh, I'm not in love with them. I just think if you talk about Logan Jones, Connor Liu, Jake Slaughter, they all have really good bases and they kind of just lock to you. Um, Sam Hecht, I don't really see him do that too often. Deion Burks, I really like as an athlete. Drops a little bit though for me just because he takes his eye off the ball sometimes. Um, Oscar Delp, big riser. Kieran Crawford, I really like. Only up one spot though, so maybe he'll rise up a little bit more. I think he could go as early as day two. We're talking a lot about some prospects here. Nussmeyer drops a couple spots. Benny drops a couple spots. LT probably drops a couple spots too. Jonah Coleman up a couple spots. Dalen Everett down. Kyle Lewis down. I just don't know where he plays in the NFL. That's my concern with him. I think you don't really know where he's going to play. Drew Aller down 7 spots there. Malachi Fields down a little bit. Markel Bell is someone who I want to rise. I just don't know where his range really is. Because I think he's like a Trent Brown player, but I don't know how much teams are going to value that. Chris McClellan up. I really like him as a player. Billy Stroud up a little bit too. Trey Zune up a considerable amount. I really like him. And as Matt Kelly said, I'd be hype if he came into Houston and competed at center. Obviously listed as a tackle because he played there for the Aggies, but I think is going to be a center in the NFL. Anthony Lucas down a couple. I'm not in love with him. I know he had a meeting with the Texans at the Combine. I think that was just a formality. I hope so, at least. Bud Clark, I think, is a good player. Down 1 spot. Bo Stevens up. Austin Barber up a considerable amount too. Emmett Johnson up a little bit too. Llewellyn up as well. VJ Payne, big riser. Kevin Coleman, big riser. Bryce Wetcher up a little bit. And then Caleb Elam's Orr up about 30 spots. Texans are apparently really, really liking what they see from Caleb Elam's Orr. And I do really apologize if my voice is a little off compared to my videos because I am sick. Been sick since the weekend, but we're still trying to grind out. Praying for the day I get my first super chat in there or something like that. So we're gonna try to grind it out. But sickness never stops anyone. It's just like a cold or something. I'll be fine. Torian York, I really like as a player. He drops a little bit just because of that size concern. He's like 5'11", 200. Tim Keenan, I think, is a decent player as well. Um, I had a lot of fun watching Torian York in person every time I went to an A&M game, which was pretty consistent every time they were at home. Jacoby Lane, decent. Damon Claiborne's big riser for me. I think he's a really good player. I think he could be, well, he's RB6 or 7 on my board, I think. Uh, where's RB2? It'd be Jadarian Price. RB2. Is he RB3 for me? No, Mike Washington Jr. I forgot about that. Jonah Coleman's 4. Sorry, I'm completely messing up. He's going to be my RB5 or my RB6. Emmett Johnson's 5. And then I think I need to switch that. So we'll move McGowan to where Claiborne is. I think that's fair. And then we'll move Claiborne to where McGowan was in the 130s. I think that's more of his range. I just think this speed's elite. I really like his speed. He was at 135 under Brian Parker. Oh, that's Raridon. I'm so sorry. I actually really like Raridon though. I don't know how to pronounce his last. I'm pretty sure it's Raridon. I hope it's Raridon. But Claiborne here, late round punter. Yeah, I have Brett Thorson up there. Um, I think he's such a good punter. That's why I really have him up there. Uh, we'll go right here. Where's Brett Thorson? There he is at 292. Um, other than that, though, I really like Jack Stonehouse too as a late round punter. These guys I don't watch a lot to be honest. So uh, we'll put them back to back because I both think they're really good punters. Tommy Doman wasn't great for Michigan when he was there. Dominic Zavada was good for Michigan when he was there though. Um, Keyshawn James Newby might rise a little bit. I think he's a decent player. I don't think he's the worst player. You got to feel horrible if you're just the worst ranked position player in this. James Brockermeyer, I think, could rise a little bit. I don't think he's bad at all. Other than that, I think Jalen Waltall is decent. Toriano Pride's not bad. I could see him getting a UDFA somewhere. Same with Waltall. I don't think he'll get drafted, but other than that, we look at Wade Woodaz. I think needs to rise for me. Um, Anthony Hankerson's not bad. Donovan McCauley's got good size. He's like 6'4", 6'5", actually. Sorry. Transferred from Indiana to Michigan. Had a decently productive season, but got outshadowed by uh, who am I think? Oh, Andrew Marsh. So there's that. But we got to 45 minutes this stream. I was just trying to bridge that gap for y'all between now and Aaron Wilson, but Aaron Wilson is starting. Hopefully we get some draft intel. I'll be there. So if you want to interact with me there, then, let me know down in the comment section below. Or I guess the chat. I'm so used to saying comment section. I don't know why, but yeah, I do hope y'all enjoyed the stream. But I am going to go catch on with Aaron Wilson. I think we all should, to be honest. We'll get a quick draft in. Why not? Oh, I need to save it. Oh no, I didn't save it, huh? Oh, I didn't. Okay, well, we're gonna do the quickest mock draft you've ever seen. Just as a consolation, as an appreciation tool. So we're gonna move out of 28 for the love of the game. Patriots want to move. Cardinals want to move. That's what we'll do. So we'll do something like this for the love of the game. We're going speedy. Um, we're going Keelan Rutledge at 34. Why not? And then here we'll go Caleb Banks at 38. And as we move on to 59, I think I could have traded around, but no, I don't. I didn't like anything there. We'll move back a couple spots. I think 63 is actually perfect. So we'll pick up like a fourth next year. That's exactly what we do. And we'll go with Lou here. And then we'll go Grayson Holt. No, we won't go Grayson Holton. We'll go Sam Roush here. And we continue on, hurrying this thing up. At 104. we're gonna go get some uh Markel Bell goes there. That's annoying. Uh, we're gonna go get Zakee Wheatley to be a backup, and then we will also try to develop Chris McClellan into a decent player there. So we'll continue on, trek along here. At 141, we are going to go with Damon Claiborne, and then we haven't gone. We have gone tight end. Excuse me. So we'll look to the wide receivers here. Why not? Caleb Douglas, fun one. Eric Rivers, fun one. Aaron Anderson, another fun one. But we'll go Caleb Douglas here. Why not? And we continue on to 167. Jeremiah Wright, I think, makes the obvious pick. Yeah, it's got to be. I think he's a really good player. So we'll go Jeremiah Wright here as we move on to 243, where we close this mock draft out with, we'll see, linebacker maybe. Yeah, we'll go linebacker here. Wade Woodaz. Why not? Finishing out this mock draft here. Speedy one just to close out the stream. I do hope y'all really enjoyed this one. You get a haul of Rutledge, Banks, Lou, Roush, Wheatley, McClellan, Claiborne, Douglas, Wright, and Woodaz. So let me know what y'all think about this. Obviously, there's going to be more trades around this center of the board. We were just trying to speed through this. But everyone go tune in to Aaron Wilson. I do hope y'all enjoy that stream. Obviously, going to be a lot of draft intel there. See what guys we do really like and don't like because leaks are going to start to come out. We're pretty much a week away from the draft. So, again, I do hope y'all really enjoyed this live stream. Pleasure to chat with y'all. Pleasure to do everything with y'all. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.